This is a really cool interview with Martin Scorsese. I recorded it back in March of 1987, and it's from a show called Signature. And Scorsese talks a lot about Raging Bull, The Last Waltz, and Taxi Driver in this interview, so can't go wrong with those films. But look how many sentences he speaks in 22, nearly 23 minutes. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. But man, oh man, Chatty Cathy, wonder why you were so talkative.
Small and sickly in a tough New York neighborhood. He says when the other boys were out playing sports, he was at the movies or home drawing storyboards, a passion that blossomed into film directing and movies like Taxi Driver, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, and Raging Bull. With us on Signature, Martin Scorsese.
We have portrayed you, and you are frequently so portrayed, as a youngster. You suffered from asthma, you were small, you weren't the jock out there on the street.
No.
And do you see that as, how did we tie that into you becoming a movie director?
No, there's nothing else to do.
Sure, there are lots of things. You could have been a mathematician.
No, I'm very bad math. Very bad. Mess. What a mess. Terrible math.
Seriously.
And yet, no,
what
seriously,
were the movies?
The odd thing is that in movies, you're using math more than you realize. I mean, each frame, perforations, you know, the editing.
What got you into that? I mean, people are looking in, and to half of the American youth, you are a idol. How'd you do it?
Well, I wanted to, I guess, if it would have been a different period, I guess it would have been to writing. And just write and write and write. And in this case, it was into something I knew firsthand. I felt I knew firsthand anyway, which was images, more than telling a story by images. Of course, I don't really necessarily tell a story in a traditional way. I have a great deal of difficulty with that. But that's also another kind of battle, too, where you realize it's not that, all right, if it's not that important to tell a story in a traditional way, for me, as long as the points get across that I want. So that's something that in your work, one has to understand.
Is it hard to make a movie?
Yeah, it's pretty hard, yeah.
Because?
Well, everything's against you. The weather, getting up in the morning or at night. Not really, it is. Getting everybody together, getting the attention you need from the people, you know. And also mainly, you know, really, the most important thing is hopefully eventually finding a group of people that you have a kind of rapport with that after a while, it's totally collaborative and you're all working together. And you see things the same way.
Yeah, I frequently ask this question.
If you see things the same way, you see things from different parts of the same prism. Let me put it that way. For example, Bob De Niro doesn't have to necessarily understand exactly everything I see in a scene, and vice versa. As long as the end result of that scene, and of course, the entire picture is what we felt we were going in for.
But
listen, you have to be locked in.
No, I'm thinking of the directors who say their actors are children. There are many directors who won't show the actor the whole script. They won't tell him what the movie is about.
I don't know. That's the way those people work. In a way, I don't even consider myself a director. Really. And I'm not saying that to be false and modest at all.
What do you consider?
I don't know. I don't know what I would call myself besides other names besides aside from being, you know, when you said, am I a director? I'm not the director in the old sense of the word. I don't. That is a professional director. A director can walk in a place in the morning, tell people what he wants, this and that, make another film 3 weeks later. You really have to love something, to love it so much that if you don't have the film, you don't have the money, you don't have the cameras, you could draw the pictures. And if you don't have the pencil and the paper, you can stop people in the street and tell them the story. That's how much you have to love it.
You're that crazy?
Yeah, about film, yeah. About telling a story in film, and the way I tell a story. Yeah, you really have to love it. So therefore, to say that selling out for what? There's no amount of money in the world that can make you get up that early in the morning and deal with some things that you walk on. And the bigger a picture gets, meaning the more known you get and the more that you have to pay for people around you, the more questions there are, the more impossible it is to try just to cut through. It's almost like cutting through a jungle to try to get through your original concept, just the original simplicity, and also to try to get to the most simple. For example, King of Comedy, the new film I'm making, there are hardly any camera movements, and if they are, they're totally functional. Meaning that if you get up from this chair and walk over there, I may pan with you, or track with you according to, so that they're hidden as much as possible. Because I'd really tried, in a sense, after Raging Bull and New York, and Last Waltz and Taxi, moving the camera for me doesn't necessarily. There's always something else I'd like. I mean, I could do one film all in one take. Let me put it that way. A lot of my friends could. A lot of people, the older directors have. Anybody has. And in a way, it doesn't prove anything anymore to me. It's really the content of the frame, the size of the person in the frame.
Let me ask you this. Honestly, as your name, you kind of touched on this, as it became more and more, this is, quote, a Scorsese film, and this is the next step. It's got to be into genius. Is that weigh on you at all? Tell the truth.
I had a lot of that tension on New York. You're absolutely right. Yeah, oh my God, I've got to do everything. And that was part of a problem. That's part of the problem of making that film, you see. So I also didn't know consciously what I was doing in terms of taking the characters. And as I said before, like a cinema verite, almost putting cinema verite characters almost in total old-fashioned makeup and lipstick and that sort of thing, and putting them on against old-fashioned backdrops, and a very kind of modern story for me, in other words, redefining the genre. I didn't know I was trying to do that at the time, which is what I did. So I was very aware of it at that time. But thankfully, the Last Waltz, a documentary I made called The American Boy, about a friend of mine named Steve Prince, and a documentary I made on my parents, Italian American. Luckily, those kind of balanced out a feeling of, well, whatever I do next, I do next.
Well, what about now? Do you feel that way?
What happened was that even though Last Waltz was, for me, even though I was pleased with it, and American Boy, at the end of, when the film opened, because of many different problems and everything, I wasn't really too happy about doing Raging Bull because I didn't know how to approach it. Of course, as I said before, I know nothing about boxing, but I realized that it took me a long time to realize a lot of personal problems, a lot of things during that period of 76 and 77, to realize that what the book was really about, or the story was really about, or the characters were really about. And it was a way of expressing these feelings about myself, and through Jake, the character of Jake LaMotta, I should say. So that it took quite a while for me to understand how to make that film, because I didn't think I should have made it.
Do you always talk in these? I'm not sure I understand. Be specific. What are you talking about? You were going through a divorce or something? I mean,
divorces. Yes, divorces. That's the normal.
Can you make a movie without a divorce?
Well, you could. No, divorce you're going through, but also divorce, and also what you say in terms of New York, that kind of pressure. What is the next one going to be? And if I really don't know anything about boxing, how am I going to make a picture that's going to top that? And why should I even top my next picture? Why don't we do a body of work? Why does it have to be? That's his best film. That's his worst film. Why can't it be just a context of films in the context of a body of work?
Well, and I was trying. Why can't it?
That's what I'm trying. That's why I did Last Waltz. That's why I did American Boy, and that's what I'm trying with. And eventually, when I reached enough of a crisis point where I was unable to, where I was, really in very bad shape physically, eventually, within 2 days, I snapped out of it with some help and realized what the Raging Bull film was all about.
Which is?
It's a redeeming.
I beg your pardon?
A redeeming, a redemption.
Who's getting redeemed?
Myself.
Oh.
Or yourself. Anybody you want to get pretentious about it, that's what it is.
But your protagonist, if you can call him that, hardly seems redeeming.
Why? Why should you say that? That's like saying that man is over there, he's damned to hell. No, I don't have a right to say that.
No, your portrayal of him. You put him on the screen that way. Punches out his wife, cheats on his friends, throws fights.
No, who's not? Who doesn't? I mean, no, I don't say who doesn't. I don't say. What I mean by that is the value of what we term as sin. Punching out his wife, cheats on his friends. In your case, or anybody else's, I'm talking about you're talking to me directly. I'll talk to you. In your case, maybe something you've done. Who cast the first stone is what I'm saying. That's all. Who has the right to? Maybe some things that you've done may outweigh, in terms of value, punching a wife.
Okay, now relate this to something that you said in the film, the redemption factor, now that I understand what you're saying. How do you see yourself being redeemed? Do you mean in career? What are you talking about?
No, your soul. It's understanding yourself. It's understanding what's somewhat good and what's somewhat bad. You never really do. You never, but it's at least a battle.
So what did you come to understand? You said you
understand that it has to stop. That things have to stop to the point where you can control yourself, control your life, and only focus on those things that are valuable for yourself and the people you love.
This movie did this for you?
Well, the period of 77 and 78, 76, that period of making those documentaries and going through all that stuff from New York, and that's why it was the end of A Love Affair movies, I said, because then Raging Bull for me is not a movie. In fact, I try to go back to basics, black and white.
It's not a movie. What do you think it is?
It wasn't, well, I don't know. You know what I mean by not a movie. It's not a, my next movie is going to be, it's a, for me, it was an act, a religious act.
You once were thinking about the priesthood.
Yeah. I think every Catholic kid at a certain point does. I guess it stays with you, though. It stays with you, though.
You went to a seminary.
A preparatory seminary.
Got yourself kicked out of there?
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you have enough muscle out there that when you talk, the money men will listen?
I really don't know. I think it's a matter of hoping and a matter of proving to myself that I want to make a picture for a certain amount of money and doing it.
For example, King of Comedy.
Yeah, you budget that and then you work on that budget.
And do you come in on budgets usually?
On Raging Bull, we didn't know.
What happened?
Well, we did 10 weeks of fight scenes. I drew each picture. And that took a while to do. The fight scenes were rather difficult to do. And dramatic scenes we went along fine. And in fact, we even came in under in the dramatic scenes. But then again, there was a special situation on that film. For many years, we talked about that film. And even from when the first administration there, Arthur Krim's administration, and they were very good with it. They, Bob wanted to gain the weight, and that takes time. You have to put everybody in a hiatus.
He actually went out and gained 40 pounds.
Yeah, 30 pounds, whatever it was, or 40.
But he took a tour of Europe and ate in the best.
Oh, yeah, man's mad.
How did he do it? What do you mean?
How do you mean, how do you do it? He ate. But he ate with a nutritionist. Otherwise, it could be rather, difficult. You see, so that means you have to, it's a hiatus, you have to take a hiatus, you have to pay, hiatus meaning that you have to pay the key people. Why get rid of the wardrobe? Why get rid of the hair person? You see, they should be the same people there when you get back. And when you get back, you better know what the hell you're doing. Because, time's running out.
On whom?
Time. When we got back, we had, like, for example, the scenes where he was heavy, we had scheduled 2 weeks of shooting. We shot it in 10 days.
You said somewhere, you mentioned the time, you said, to use your exact words, you said, I'm desperate, I'm running out of time. In your life, you seem to be saying that. What were you talking about?
That's just a kind of melodramatic Catholic... No, it's true, though. You do sense it, though. It's the crisis I went through before realizing what Raging Bull was really supposed to be about, which is really myself.
Why are your movies so often violent? I mean, really violent.
Well, in the case of Raging Bull, for example, that's violence as a means of expression. I mean, that's a ridiculous phrase. What I mean is that very often, a lot of people, and even in that field, I'm talking about men who fight in a ring for three minutes and then stop. I mean, really. And then, in those days, especially the way they fought the same person sometimes twice a week. 2 weeks later, this were bloody fights, and they went absolutely crazy.
Well, I'm a taxi driver.
Well, I'll get to that, but in terms of violence, many of the characters in Raging Bull, they had no way of expressing it. For me, it would seem totally normal to me if the character in Raging Bull would come over and instead of saying hello, he cuts off somebody's ear. And that's hello. And the other guy says, oh, he picks it up, puts it back on, or whatever, tries to sew it on, and slaps him in the face, or, breaks a few teeth. That's just saying hello. So where do you go from there? Try to put a suit on and try to act normal, quote unquote, whatever that is. This is we're getting down to extreme basics, I think. That's one of the reasons. Again, getting down to basics in black and white, not the use of color. I love color, but I don't want to be. I don't sort of have this artistic pallor over the picture. The pallor is the word, actually. Yeah. Do you understand? I mean, about people who live by violence. Most people do.
It's not an optimistic view.
No, it's not necessarily, no. No, I grow up, I mean, if you just try to turn on the news, I can't read the newspapers, I can't really look at the news anymore. I mean, I just know, I mean, I walk around the corner. I'm always very aware of where I'm walking here or driving in California. Same thing as walking. So,
where do you see yourself going? I mean, given that pessimism, do you see your career, I mean, with the kind of pressures that you're describing, do you see yourself going on and on making better and better movies, or where does a life like yours go?
I don't know. I think, one thing, I think it's the use of film, or the use of film media or video to not only make something that you believe in, but also learn about yourself and hopefully other people to examine their own consciousness and their own selves, you see. Maybe learn something about themselves.
But the movies in the theater, they're all seen made for 14-year-olds. We got Raiders of the Lost Ark, we got Superman, we got Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, I like those. That's the kind of picture I like. I'm serious. I mean, I like to see that, very much. And where am I? You're going to say? I don't know. I mean, that's why I'm thinking, and that's what I said before about making films on a smaller and smaller budget, because I think that's the most important thing. That means a lot of homework, a lot of preparation, and possibly directly for cable.
But are you saying that bigness destroys?
I think not bigness, no. No, as long as you have control of it, as long as you know that there could be 1,000, look at the Griffith's Intolerance, I mean, with the gigantic set and everything, but as long as he knows what he's looking at and how long he should shoot it for and how much of it he really needs, they're fine. And you can have as big as you want. For example, we had one day on Raging Bull with 3,000 extras. And that's the one shot of him, the long take of Bobby going, that's it. The one shot of Bobby going into the ring for the Sedan fight. And we shot one other shot of him at the end of the Dortiel fight, where he hits the floor with his gloves, which is taken directly from the newsreel footage. And the camera went around, and in the film right now it pulls back, and we cut. But actually I pulled back and circled in 360 degrees the entire 3,000 people. Now, again, that was all done in one day, because it was planned the second week of shooting. See, why waste? Why have the 3,000 people there every day?
How do you get an actor like a De Niro, who incidentally, perhaps you can comment, generally is not talkative and doesn't communicate? How do you get a person like that so totally into the part that they convince me they're Jake LaMotta? How do you do that?
Well, again, convincing you that Jake LaMotta, they're convincing you that the character, not Jake LaMotta. See, that's the thing that is Jake. Jake is a man, is a human being. We can't make any kind of judgment on that. So if Bobby becomes part of Jake, part of himself, part of me, part of many people, I don't know, many different things.
How does that happen?
Well, he believes in it first. He's got to believe in it.
But when you're directing this actor, do you want that actor to kind of lose himself into the part? How much do you want that immersion?
There's a great deal of concentration. But you see, the actor has to want to do that also. He really has to want to do that. It isn't like I'm standing there like a taskmaster as a master saying, no, you must stay in the room another 15 minutes to concentrate. But, if I see, that this concentration is off or there's some distractions, we stop. We'll stop a few minutes and, rest.
What makes it good?
You've got to take it easy.
What makes it?
What makes it? I really do. For me, it's the kind of person who can be, you can't tell they're acting. You can't tell they're acting.
You once said somewhere, why does it have to be a choice between making big commercial hits or starving? How do you balance that in the movie industry?
At this point, it's very dangerous. There's no way to. There's no way to. And that's, again, what I mean by trying to be able to be specific enough about the kind of pictures you want to make, the subject matter in those pictures, and the tightening on the reins on the budget, so that, there's a balance. There's a balance that you have, that you're able to. You don't make the kind of films I make. I don't make the kind of killing that my friends Steven Spielberg and George Lucas make. Raiders and.
Well, why don't you go make one or two of those?
Yeah, they'll ruin them. Huh? Are you kidding? George Lucas will lose all his money if I make one of those. Not really kidding.
You mean for him?
Yeah, I'm teasing him.
Well, why can't you make those?
That's a lot. Are you kidding? First of all, I'm afraid of snakes. Don't like. Can you imagine a scene like that with snake? I was with him in London. I said, no, I'm not coming on the set, Stephen. Forget it. And. No, I mean, you really have to, you got to get in a car, you got to do the thing. I'm not into, that's it. I mean, you really simply have to know where to apply your energies and your values. Your energy has to, as I say, a shot of you talking. That's a lot. That takes a lot. Great. For me, that's what I like, that's what happens.
Have you grown up? Have you changed much since you started in this business? Do you feel you're maturing?
Yeah.
How would you characterize yourself say, into the 70s and where you're going into the 80s? Have you grown up?
Yeah, I think after New York, that whole period, right from Raging Bull on, yeah. From Raging Bull on, I think it's, in terms of work, you can look at the work as it is. There it is up on the screen, whatever you're looking at on TV usually. And you could, people can make their own judgment, but the point is that I didn't think in terms of maturing, I just thought in terms of simplifying. And that's hard. That's very hard to do. Simplifying it again, knowing what you can do, knowing what you can't do, or not necessarily can't do, but what you don't want to do, you know.
You know, the classicists always said art conceals art.
I don't know that. I don't understand that.
Art conceals art.
Meaning what?
You can't tell the actor's acting, but it's great art.
Yeah, also, you know, I guess, in a funny way, I'm not really interested in terms of, like we talked about moving the camera and that sort of thing, very artistic. I'm not really interested anymore in art. It's, again, information, understanding of ourselves and the people. It's almost like a therapy for ourselves and the people working on the film.
So you mean to simplify more in your life. Do you have a better sense of what you can't do?
Oh, yeah.
How do you keep those voices whispering, saying, Martin, you're a genius. You can make any movie in the
Well, you
world.
don't take phone calls. No, I'm serious. No, they say you can make any money. I mean, you get something that's about prison. I don't want to go to prison. I just don't feel like going to make a prison picture. I don't want to, you know, I hate prison pictures. You know, submarine pictures not good either. But you don't get many submarine scripts.
And snake pictures.
Snake pictures, I can't. Forget it. No. Somebody else, no, I can't. No, but what I'm serious about that in the sense that there's certain subject matter that you just know you're not going to really be. You simply, and I always use this phrase, you can't get up that early in the morning to go there. And if they walk in, the cars are parked on the wrong side of the street. Okay, that's 2 hours wait. I need that for a picture that I really don't care about. I can't. You see, it has to be something that you care about, and something, very often it's something you can care about and to use, like transitional, transitional in your work. You know, almost like marking time and doing a damn good job. You know?
Given all the things you just described here that go wrong with a movie, for a young man or a young woman whom you really like, you don't know how tough they are, you don't know how strong they are mentally. Would you recommend a career as a movie director?
No. Again, using movie director in those, you know, in traditional sense.
Any sense?
In any sense, no. I know. No, I'm not saying, poor us.
No, stay with it. It's interesting. Seems like every other kid in America wants to be a movie director. They really don't know what they're getting into.
No, they don't. And it's until the industry entirely changes, and it seems like it is now with the cable systems and things that are happening, and there's more outlet for shorter films and different things. It might be a way where people can express themselves in their own form.
But the Hollywood...
But that's really difficult. It's very difficult. They'd have to better think twice.
Martin Scorsese, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Well, we did work for 8 years. He just made this willful thing. I said, "Look,
Join us at this time every Friday and Saturday for a look at the stars on